Hey, how's it going? Myles here at Untitled Hyve. It's another Monday, so that means we're going to continue our series on how to shoot a pistol accurately. So we are on week 3, part 1. Before we get to the content, today's video is brought to you by TacPack. TacPack is a monthly subscription where they send you a lot of cool tactical, everyday carry, EDC, and survival gear every single month in a nice packaged box. And they have 2 offerings, TacPack Plus and TacPack Standard. And so they sent us a TacPack Plus box. So let's take a look at what kind of products you get and the value. All right, so let's see what's here.
Christmas.
Okay, we got a SOG field knife, snap caps, a Seekins precision charging handle, dual charging handle, TacPack shirt with that Jurassic Park design here, TechMat AR-15 bench mat, Seekins, I believe this is a Seekins precision hat, and a Seekins muzzle device. So pretty cool gear there. This is their TacPack Plus. TacPack Plus starts at $129.95. We're going to take a look at how much the value of all this is and compare it to what you're actually paying for the TacPack Plus. So I just totaled up the value of all the products in this TacPack Plus box that we received, and it's over $200. And the TacPack Plus box runs for $129.95 a month. And if you use the code TACHYVE, they'll even throw in a $75 US made AR part with your subscription. So you're gonna get more value than what you're paying for with the TacPack Plus box, as well as that $75 part. So check them out. We have a link below, and I'm sure you're gonna love all their stuff. If you're new to this series and missed out on the first videos, make sure to check the description of this video. We've outlined everything that we've done thus far so that you can go back and then catch up at your own pace. Today, again, this is week 3, part 1. We're going to be focusing on dry fire, and we've already covered a lot of little details. We've already talked about getting your hands together, presenting, doing that efficiently, breaking your shot, aiming and shooting faster. That was week number 2. What we're going to do now, though, is backtrack a little bit on purpose. Okay, we wanted to punch up the speed a little bit so that you have a little bit, you kind of ingrain in your mind that you have to begin to work that speed as you get comfortable with your mechanics. But I'm pretty sure some of you are still not hitting your targets accurately, even when you're going slow. So now that you have an idea of a kind of incorporating a little speed when you're ready, we now want to address some of you who are still not hitting your target accurately, okay? So we're going to now focus on isolating your trigger finger. That is extremely important. So just to clarify some things, I have a dry Glock here, okay? We talked about prepping your trigger. This was in week 1, all right? When you have the opportunity, you want to prep your trigger when accuracy is extremely important. But we know that you won't always have the opportunity to do that. In self-defense situations, maybe you don't have the time and space to prep your trigger. You might have to slap your trigger. And this is where proper trigger control principles come into play. And one, which is huge, really big principle, is to just isolate your trigger finger. That means just move the trigger finger and do not have any sympathetic movement. I've alluded to this a little bit in other videos, but we're going to really hone in on it today. And so we're going to work on dry fire exercises that are going to help you do that. So how do we isolate our trigger finger? If you notice, I don't have a gun because this first dry fire exercises, we don't need anything. Especially if you're a beginner and you've never really focused in on this particular trigger control principle, this is going to be very valuable. So all we're going to do to start, we're not going to even use a pistol or a firearm. You need to understand that you need to separate the movement of your trigger finger from everything else in your body. And so what I want you to do is just simulate that you're holding a pistol, just like this, okay? Just like this. And what you want to do is slowly just concentrate on moving just your trigger finger, bending the trigger finger from the second knuckle. Now there could be a little bit of a bend in your first knuckle, that's okay, right? So this is the first knuckle, this is the second knuckle. There could be a little bend there, but what you're focusing on as you do this slowly is you want to make sure there's no movement with the rest of your hand or fingers. Just this, okay? If you've never done this before, it can be very complicated because you've never really focused in on just moving your trigger finger, isolating it. So that is what you want to do here. You're going to have your hands together. You don't have to have a really tight death grip here with your other fingers here, but try to move from your second knuckle back and forth. You're going to notice some movement, but the idea is if you've never done this, you are looking for improvement. So this is should be part of your dry fire exercises where you're just doing this, getting used to it, and you don't want any movement at all. You could be looking down at your hands, seeing if there's any movement. You can start really slow. This will be foreign to you. This will be foreign to you if you've never done it before. So you can go this slow while you're looking at your hand for any movement. You're not just feeling for any movement, other movement, you're also looking, okay, because the movement can be so minute. So I'm looking to see if there's any movement. And you're going to start off really slow. Then what you want to do is increase the speed ever so slightly until you're able to do it quickly. Some of you, if this is the first time, you're probably not going to get to the point where you can do this super quick without any sympathetic movement with other parts of your hand. So start off slow and then progress. This is going to show you that if you've never done this before, you will have movement, so now we need to get rid of that. So you need to mentally focus, start off slow and train that into your subconscious and build the neural pathways, aka muscle memory, the neural pathways to doing that. Okay, so that is the first dry fire exercise. You don't need a pistol to do that. The second dry fire exercise, you don't really need a target like I have here. You just need something small. I have a black paster on this target. You could use a light switch or draw a circle or something like that, but you want to have something small. I have a dry pistol here, and what we're going to be doing is using this pistol and holding this pistol only with my thumb, the web of my hand, and my trigger finger. So it'll look something like this right here, okay? Just like this. This takes some time getting used to, and this is why we're doing this dry, so that you get the hang of it, okay? And we are working on isolating our trigger press just with, again, just isolating this finger here. To do that, we're getting rid of all of our other fingers. So what you're going to do is you're going to rack your slide here. You get ready to take a dry fire shot. You are going to grip around with the web of your hand, latch down with your thumb, and then the next thing you're going to do is point your gun towards your target and wrap around with your trigger finger. Now you'll notice that my three amigos, these three fingers, are completely off the grip. Why? Because we want to isolate our trigger finger and show that you can do this and keep your sights steady just by using your trigger finger. So what you're going to do is you're going to have your sights or your red dot on target, and what you want to do here is just squeeze the trigger straight to the rear while maintaining your sights on the target. Notice how I don't snatch my gun away from the target just yet. I want to make sure that my sights were steady, and they were. Now I would rehash the drill here. I'm going to rack my slide, hold it again with the web of my hand, the thumb, and my trigger finger here. Now I can prep the trigger just like you guys have learned in week 1. And from here, I'm going to just pull or squeeze the trigger straight back, keeping my sights on target. If you really pay attention to your sight, you're going to notice that there's less movement because there's no chance of your three amigos getting in the way of disrupting your sights, okay? They're gonna keep it right on target. So one more time here, okay? Web of the hand, I rack my slide, I keep my muzzle in a safe direction when I'm doing this, okay? So I'm not putting my finger on the trigger until my muzzle is in a safe direction. Then I'm gonna squeeze the trigger, keep my sights there. Notice I do not snatch back because I wanna make sure my sights are on target, okay? When you're able to do that without disrupting your sights, this goes to show that you have a good trigger press. You can do this by just moving your trigger finger. So now what I'd like you to do is, this is the third part of the drill here. This is just adding on. We're just building up. We initially just used this, our finger here. Then we isolated even more by holding a pistol here and then just using one finger, okay? Holding with the web of our hand, thumb, and the trigger finger. Next, now what you're going to do is rack the slide. And this is going to be the same as week 1 or week 2, but now our focus, hyper focus, is on just moving our trigger finger. Even though we are now grabbing it with both hands and our three amigos here, you just want to squeeze with the trigger finger and keep everything steady. This might seem really simple, and it is. But the whole idea is we're getting reps in. This is the only way to truly learn how to just isolate that trigger finger. You can't just do this, you know, even 50 times, 100 times and think you have it. You need to really engrave this in your subconscious. So the dry fire for this entire week is essentially just learning how to move, isolate your trigger finger, starting just like this, looking at it, then using a pistol dry, holding it with the web of your hand, aiming at a small target and getting those reps in without disrupting the sights. If you disrupt the sights, that means there was movement. Maybe you're touching the frame with your trigger finger or something else. So you want to just isolate. And third, now you're just going to combine everything. You're going to combine everything, present out, pull that trigger straight to the rear. Remember, this video is to hone in on your accuracy. Some of you from week 1 or week 2 when you're taking shots, maybe yes, you're hitting your target, maybe you have improved, but now we want to improve even more. And this is important because, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, you won't always be able to prep your trigger. If you're surprised, you won't have the time to prep your trigger. If you have all the time in the world, you can prep your trigger. So you need, your fallback is to follow proper trigger control principles, and one of the main ones is to isolate your trigger finger. So that wraps up the dry fire video for week 3. Remember to do this about 2 or 3 times before you do live fire later in the week. And since we're doing 3 dry fire exercises, a 15-minute dry fire session would do you good. Maybe doing 5 minutes just working on the finger here, another 5 minutes web of the hand, and then another 5 minutes full presentation, mentally focusing on just moving the trigger finger. They're really simple. There's not a lot to it, but maintain good habits here, especially when you're holding with one hand. Remember to only point the muzzle or put your finger on the trigger only when your muzzle is in the safe direction. Doing these exercises are going to prepare you for validating your practice and your training later in the week. Give the dry fire exercises a try, and as always, if you do like the video, please give us a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys later in the week.